So one of the most interesting questions that people ask me is why I play chess. And over the years, there have been a variety of answers to this. And in a way, we're preaching to the choir after all. I'm publishing a chess video, and people who don't play chess are unlikely to view it. It's a little like the teacher telling the father in Search of Bobby Fischer something to the extent of, well, you know, his chess thing. And the father going off and the teacher like, well, what do you mean his chess thing? You know, it's like this kid's better at this than anything I've ever been at in my life. And so, so the question of why we're playing chess is kind of important because, as we get up there in age, different people make different decisions, and as you're younger, you have to decide what you're going to do as well. When I was young, I made a series of decisions about what it was going to take for me to achieve wealth and not have to play, in the corporate world anymore. So, one of the things that I did was I wrote a book about how I did that, and it's under a pseudonym, and you may or may not recognize it, but one of the chapters in the book was entitled The $100,000 Lunch. Now, I can summarize this title for you in about 3 sentences. That is actually a small number. I saved way more than $100,000 on lunch over a period of a shortened career. It's not that hard to do when you figure out what business lunches cost, and the fact that I wasn't eating lunch, and I didn't even add in my own productivity for the time that I did not spend out of the business cycle, because I worked through every lunch for years and I simply fasted all day, which was very healthy. And I invested the money wisely, and I took good care, and I used the additive principles of what you could do in terms of I have a similar chapter on parking. When parking is $15 or $20 a day, as it was back then, you can park in the $5 lot and jump over giant mounds of wine bottles, on your way to work, or you can park in the garage underneath the building for $28, and that money adds up. And I can tell you that it adds up a lot faster than you'd think. The $100,000 is not a joke, and the fact that you can make this kind of money simply by pyramiding and investing and doing the same thing every day consistently over a long period of time is the point of the mathematical equation involved in doing it. So how does this involve chess? Well, the answer is, what might have happened in lieu of the countless hours I spent analyzing chess positions? You could view lunch and chess very similarly. You could say, well, chess is, an indulgence. Lunch is an indulgence. If you do without that indulgence and you do this other thing instead, of course, the chess really wasn't costing me that much compared to the lunch. What could you have done? How much more money could you have made? The answer is probably a whole lot more, and that's the short answer. The long answer is that why do you need a whole lot more? So that's also part of the entire book that's there that I wrote. So, just suppose, for instance, that I poured the same amount of energy into writing derivatives. I've written derivatives and financial tools, and that made plenty of money. Like when I first stopped working, I'll tell you that I made more the year I first stopped working than the year before I stopped working, and I was making a lot of money then. And the way that happened was I wrote these derivatives and these financial tools that enabled me to invest in things like zero coupon bonds and flip them every which way and make a load of money doing that. So, the fact is that, yes, we could have been doing other things with our life other than playing chess for countless hours. So the question is why we spend so much time playing chess and what we really get out of it. And one of the things that I want to address is what happens when a player gets perspective. And some players get perspective in kind of a radical way. For instance, Morphy went through, various family tragedies and financial type demises and things that happened in his life that basically short-circuited his brain about the world of chess. Like, chess seemed very, very inconsequential compared to the big picture of what could happen and what gets done in life. So At a certain point, from what I remember, Morphy just stopped even conversing about it. And you can say the same about Bobby Fischer. Fischer, with all his mental turmoils and the conflicts and things that he went through in life, the possibly the greatest chess mind who's ever lived, decided chess was dead because of computers, and that computers were demystifying it, to the point where it was no longer enjoyable, and he invented a new form of chess to replace that, to confuse computers more. And yet you get players like Korchnoi who play after they've had a stroke, strong chess late into their lives, players like Keres and Tal, which is a little more understandable because they died young, but they were playing strong chess till the day they died. And they've decided that, well, it's not just preaching to the choir. Strongest players I knew personally, as I grew up and I was a young man playing chess, played for a university team, and they were really strong masters and people that were going to be the next generation of grandmasters. If they weren't, by today's standards, they might be, because they were rated around 2,500 plus. And the fact is that these players gave up chess for backgammon, and they became like professional backgammon type players, and they could make more money at backgammon. Now, does that seem silly? A game with dice, Well, now we've seen players, branching off into all kinds of things like poker, and like you saw that Walter Brown had this relationship in Vegas. So when it finally boils down to is this a false question? And so I've decided that in a very Zen sense, this is a bit of a false question, because chess is a mental barometer, and chess is its own reward. It does us good to play chess. It's like reading a book in Latin. Why study Latin? I've heard that so many times. You can't use Latin. You can't speak Latin. It's like, well, why read Virgil? Is Virgil that wonderful to read in Latin? And the answer is it improves your mind. And if I hadn't played chess, I think that I probably wouldn't have been able to write the derivatives the way that I had. So this is a chicken egg question. This is a false question. Chess is a occupation that you can play for its own sake. It's not just a silly game. It's like painting or composing or doing something for your own artistic enjoyment. And that's something we should all do. And everybody has to do something for their artistic and aesthetic enjoyment. And as if that's not the most ridiculous part yet, I read a report not too long ago that there's never been a chess player who got Alzheimer's. I mean, a strong chess player. So, I'm sure I'm probably wrong about this, or there will be an exception someday, or maybe there already has been. But the fact is that somebody like Korchnoi is playing strong chess after he had a stroke, indicates that there's something to the benefits of chess itself. And that is my answer to the question, why play chess at all?